Hey there, it's Stephanie Shea, Chief Astrologer for janspiller.com, and I'm here with Val D'Ambrosio with Coaching Through the Astrological Forecast. We are on episode 9 about Cancer season as we move towards the solstice coming up on June 21st. And Val has some great insights. We were just brainstorming about what can happen when there's a lot of Cancer energy and tendencies for Cancer people. For watchers of this series, you know I always talk about all the amazing traits of the sign and then some of the things that can hang us up. And each sign has some things that they're all workable, but it helps to get a heads up with what's going on. So what I love about the sign of Cancer is, first of all, how intuitive they are. I've had friends and I'd be like, how did you know that? You know, they can just tell if you're having a bad day. You can't really hide anything from them. They want to help nurture their friends. They're very sensitive and what I call emotionally intelligent, where they tune in to the emotions of those around them. And that can be very useful, especially in family life or home situations, as well as work, to not just look at the behaviors, but to think about, okay, well, why would this person act this way? Cancers can usually detect that when they're in balance. I think Cancers are so good at creating comfort. You think a lot about in the home, making a cozy living space, but really just when you're hanging out with Cancers who are functioning so well, you just feel cozy. You know, it's a comfortable energy. I think they're very good at taking charge because they're a cardinal sign, but sometimes it happens behind the scenes. And they may just offer that advice or support to somebody who is more visible. But I would guess that there's Cancer energy happening behind the visible person in many cases. It's a maternal energy for sure. Cancers are associated with security, so slow and safe approaches, long-term planning, and going with that is diligence and practice. This is something that's in New Moon Astrology by Jan Spiller that was kind of a new concept to me, that, oh, diligent practice of something that you're honing, like music or a craft, that is associated with Cancer. And I thought, oh, that makes sense. They're seeking what's going to make them feel more secure with themselves. So that time practicing something will make them feel more confident when they go out to share that gift or that skill. So definitely empathetic and listening to their gut. These are all the wonderful things that go along with being a Cancer. And Cancer season begins June 21st and it goes through July 21st. And during that time, we're going to have a few things happen. One is the full moon in Capricorn. This is July 13th and it's 21 degrees Capricorn. This is a big deal because Capricorn, of course, opposes Cancer. That's what makes the full moon. And if the full moon is bringing things to light, I'm thinking, okay, some emotional truths, maybe some hidden emotions come to light. So even though it's more of an earthy full moon, it may help people see what's really going on emotionally and hopefully take practical steps to work with that instead of avoiding it. I like that about Capricorn and Cancer. They're not necessarily avoiders, although Cancer can want to hide sometimes. But in general, they're cardinal signs and something needs to be initiated. It's going to eventually happen. And we have Venus moving into Cancer, July 17th through August 10th. I like this energy for people to take care of themselves. Venus rules pleasure, what makes us feel good when Venus is in Cancer. It can just be getting comfortable, enjoying some time to ourselves, something that makes our body feel good. That's all really good stuff. And the new moon is at 7 degrees Cancer on June 28th. And this new moon is excellent for setting intentions related to your living situation, home and family. You could do it for relationships with family members, of course, as well as anything you need to feel secure in yourself. It's a great time to focus on that. So that's the rundown on the Cancer energies. Now let's talk about these out of balance Cancer traits. This often comes up in all the signs when people are stressed out, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is where they got those stereotypes. But it's not how most of the time all the Cancer people are. But I think what the first thing that popped to my mind is overgiving, because Cancers are so nurturing and they just are always tuned in to everyone around them. And on the surface, people think, oh, well, they love doing this. We should just let them do it. But everyone's got limits, and nobody wants to be doing all the work all the time. So the icon in my mind was the mom who cooks and cleans all day long and then has just finally an outburst like, why do I have to do everything? And she never asked for help, you know? So, Val, I bet you have a lot of good advice about how Cancer people can be more nurturing with themselves and how to handle that urge they have to just overgive.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful because I have a lot of Cancer people in my life, but I have a lot of Cancer clients, and I love them. And I see that a lot too, because they do have the capacity to give, and they also have the true, authentic desire to give. But there is this kind of, I call it blown out. They can get blown out really easily, and I think one thing that I say, it's like having somebody making sure your cup is full in the sense of the area of self-care, self-nourishment, whatever it is. And for individuals like Cancers or people that really take on that role of the overgiving, to I suggest, what would an overflowing cup be like for you? That's a question I would ask, because overflowing is like, what, wait, what, and that might even bring some stuff with them. But then when they start thinking about it, because if they're overflowing, if they're, that means that, because they're most likely going to lose the reserves rather quickly, maybe even quicker than other people. So if they have an overflowing cup, they have a way of kind of monitoring it, and then using their ability of emoting and feeling so deeply to tap in and to sense and to have that authentic connection with themselves, and recognize, oops, I'm going on empty. I'm about a quarter tank. So I'm gonna now, the red light just went on, like in a car, and
Mm-hmm.
it's time to start filling the tank, and not waiting until it gets to empty, because you know what happens. You're stranded, you're stuck alone, da da da. You've hit your bottom, whatever it is, you're blown out. And so that's the other thing. So just really giving yourself that permission to be tuned in. And you can almost like, I think the analogy that just came to mind, I think about a woman that is, she's tracking her menstruation periods, like her period or menstruation cycle. And I think about almost like tracking that, you know what I mean? It might be certain times or certain times, some certain seasons or certain times of year, like when the kids are out of school versus in school, or when the holidays get really heightened, or whatever it is. But if you start to kind of track yourself, whether that's journaling or just self-awareness, or even whether you have a coach or a therapist or anything like that, that could be really useful for you to know, because again, you have the capacity to deeply feel. So most likely you're also getting those signals, like the flag waving, saying, hey, it's time, your reserves are starting to get low.
That's a really good tip, because I think, yeah, the tendency when they're in that overgiving mode is to just say, oh, no, no, it's fine, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And almost worrying if they don't do it, it won't get done right
Yeah.
and people won't be taken care of. And letting go of that. Like, who said they're responsible for everybody,
Right. Right.
So,
Well, and I think too, honestly, Stephanie, like what else comes to mind is that, it's the thing around healthy boundaries. I think sometimes the boundaries can be a little thin in that area, where when they that either what they do is they overgive, or in the opposite of that, the other extreme is, so they overgive where they feel like they're just never left alone, or they do the opposite where they need to shut down, go into their hermit, their crab shell, and not let anybody in. And so there's that. I see this a lot with actually my Cancer clients. They swing from one side of the pendulum. It's like out, 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 give, 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 and then whoosh, shut down. And so it's really like, again, that's going to what would keep the pendulum at that really beautiful midline, the center, understanding it's not going to be perfectly always straight, but just this little rather than this, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point about the crab shell because I think that can be a way. Sometimes they're hiding from something they need to focus on with themselves, but they put all the energy out onto other people. And then yeah, they when they get that alone time, like you said, when it's in balance, it is good for them because then they can decide what it is they need without the distraction of worrying about other people. So
Hey,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and they're very intuitive, so I think once they get quiet and listen to their gut, they'll know. And then the second step is just telling the people around them what they need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is great. So the next thing I thought of is cancers are so emotionally sensitive. Sometimes they take the words or actions of others personally, and they think, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing this to me," and it can become this emotional roller coaster instead of just focusing on themselves and worrying about what everyone else is thinking and feeling like they must be doing everything wrong or something. What are some good tips for this?
Well, I think again, and we were talking about this before, and I love some things that you said. Like one thing that comes to mind again is that they have this incredible ability to feel so deeply, to feel all of it, right? And so becoming aware of more of those catabolic, lower frequency feelings, right? And we know what those are, right? Guilt, shame, anxiety, frustration, anger, right? And so when you notice that happening in you, whether you notice the feeling or the sensation in your body, right? So checking in with yourself, because that might be that moment of that, oh, you might be taking what they're saying personally, you might be twisting it, right? So you can ask, getting curious, again, that tool of getting curious, which I've mentioned many times, but a few ways to ask that question would be, how can I really listen from a neutral perspective, or what would neutrality look like right now, or even really leaning into that archetype of the nurturer, what would compassion look like right now? So then so or is there anything nurturing that could be interjected right now, in the sense of where you're taking full responsibility in that moment, going, okay, I'm making this about me, or I'm getting pulled into their drama, or I just I'm not in present time anymore, whatever your language is. And then just doing a little check-in. But again, you have the capacity to lean onto that nurture, like what would compassion look like, what would nurture look like right now, or just neutrality if you need to take it to a more neutral state.
Yeah, that's a really good tip because cancers have emotion down. They don't need to like focus any more than they already are. So to step a little bit more in balance to neutrality and realize, oh, hey, I'm an emotional person. That's great. I celebrate that about myself. And maybe that's distorting my perception in this, and at least exploring that.
Yeah,
Once in a while, like they'll find, oh no, this is spot on, and that's different. But they've got to discern because every
yeah,
single situation isn't going to be like that. It's going to
no.
be like 2% of the time or something.
Yeah. And like the way that I look at it, in every relationship, in every situation, it's 100%, 100% responsibility. It's not 50-50. It's not 70-30. It's 100%. So even in that moment, there's an opportunity for you. So whether or not it's really about you, it might be about you. And in that moment, right, like you said, that neutrality or that spaciousness creates the ability for greater discernment. And in addition to that, it also creates a space to maybe own what's yours. And not that you have to sift through and understand and get deep into everything and feel everything out, but it's more so just the leaning into that, to that superpower that you have to feel so deeply, but recognizing you don't have to go now swim in it and explore it or whatever.
Right. And listen to like maybe what the facts of the situation
Yeah,
are and consider the context, consider what
totally.
one thing they're good at is kind of thinking, oh, well actually that person appears to be having a terrible day, so it's not about me. Like once they sort of walk themselves through it, they might discover that too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're so compassionate, so they can kind of put that to work when it's starting to feel overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, and another thing I see, just this little side note, and this just came to mind, but you ever, I mean, a lot of people in the the conscious, the world of consciousness, right, that are speaking certain languages, there often is that that energy of, they slimed me, right, or that kind of language, like they slimed me, or they put their negative juju on me, or whatever, and it's almost like this way of perceiving life of anybody that is like kind of having a hard difficult time or anything like that, that there's this almost victim mentality of the way they're perceiving it, and instead giving yourself the opportunity to step into your power in that moment and recognize that, yes, although you may be a very empathetic person, meaning that you may be actually absorbing other people's energies, because that is a beautiful capacity, and can be excessive when we don't have healthy boundaries, right, but recognizing you don't have to be a victim to it. So then in turn, what would self-care look like right now in this moment? Maybe even, I mean, sometimes what I do even energetically, because I feel such a big, like blowout from this person, I just simply turn my body. I turn my body just a little bit, so I'm not so solar plexus, heart center to heart center, right? Just, or I might just like squeeze my own finger just to remind me to kind of stay in my body, that I don't have to let in. Or if again, I don't know what anybody's spiritual or, philosophical beliefs are, but like put your own shield around that yourself, whether you see a bubble or a halo or something like that. Or the other thing is, I put my hand in front of my body, and I just right in front of my solar plexus in my center, and I grab it like this right in front, and I go, ain't mine, it ain't mine, and I just push it away. And they don't have to know what I'm doing, I just say it in my head, meaning like let them go through their thing. They're just feeling all their feels, they're projecting a bunch of stuff, they're having a human moment. As cancers, the human condition, you have the capacity to experience the human condition, which can also be intense, right? So recognizing in those moments, if you're grounded and resourced in yourself, you don't have to take it on, you know.
Oh yeah, that is so good. I like all these ideas, and yeah, even though I don't have planets in Cancer, I think, you know, people can relate to this on so many levels. That's really good. And so yeah, that sort of leads us into the last kind of out of balance trait I see surface is because cancers are so masters at getting in touch with their emotions, they can kind of get lost in their emotional world, and it sort of rules what their decision making, like over the top, and we have to consider our emotion, but that can't be the only factor all the time. And I think it leaks over onto other people where they might have these emotional reactions that cause other people to kind of do what they want them to do. This is all out of balance stuff, like, oh no, like she's gonna freak out, we better we better just go along with it. And so how to like rein all that in, because it's a lot of energy and a lot of power, and emotions are important, but they need some management, right?
I mean, I don't know if I can relate to this because I have my Aries is in Cancer.
Or
Um,
Mars.
I mean Mars,
Yeah,
right? My
yeah, you have
Aries,
Mars in Cancer.
Mars in Cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. My Mars is in Cancer. Okay. So I don't know if that's why I can relate to it, but I can relate to this. And I feel a lot. I'm a feeler, and I believe it's a superpower. That said, when you think about first of all, just remembering, most people don't really do emotion. And when I say that, what I mean is we're taught to stuff things down, to not feel, to take a tissue when you're crying. Shh, 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 don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't feel it. Because, whether you're making them uncomfortable or they just don't know what to do with it, or it frightens them because of their own stuff. We don't know. So just, understanding that that's usually the tone of people around you. And sometimes we have to, especially with those people closest to us, it's useful, we don't have to, but it's useful to kind of in, let them know, to give them information on how to best support us in those moments. So for example, with my partner, I call it, I am having an adult temper tantrum. I need to feel this. I'm going to have a moment right now. And I just need to, like, whether it was the person that was rude to me or whatever, right or wrong, good or bad, I don't care in that moment. For me, it's remembering this is a big thing. It's energy in motion. And like Einstein says, energy doesn't disappear, it only changes form. And so my responsibility is, am I allowing it to move through me in a healthy, conscious way? Now, if I'm going to do it and it's unconscious, that's me just blowing up and keep getting to the story, because probably what's going to follow that is now a bunch of judgment toward myself for what I just did. So if I can hold it in container, basically say to my partner, I'll say either I'm going to have an adult temper tantrum, or I need you to hold the bucket for me, like hold the container so I can let's basically go blah, blah, and just be like and get pissed, and so he knows in that moment, because otherwise, and this is what we learned, and when we got together, I would have those moments and he would be like, what can I do? Oh my God, oh my God. And because he wants to fix and he wants to make it better because he's a man. But when he realized like it's not his responsibility, nor am I putting it on him, um, that the best thing he can do for me is to just hold the space. So the way that I see it is that ask for what you need around those times. What, like, whether it's, do you need alone time? Is it, babe, I'm going to go have a temper tantrum, or babe, I'm going to shut down for a little bit, I'll be back, I love you? Or is it I need you to hold the bucket because I need somebody to hear me vent and I need to get a bunch of the F bombs out, or whatever it is, or physically move your body or go outside. But learn what your own personal medicine is, and then inform those closest to you so they can support you along it. Because and being, the other thing that I want to say is, being somebody that is a nurturer that likes to be there for other people, I can understand why that would be and feel hard for you. But here's the thing, the cyclical nature of the giving and receiving is that they want to give to you too. And if you recognize that them holding space for you, or them supporting you in those moments, is a way that they get to contribute to your life, that is a win-win across the board.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, it sounds like you work a lot with people to help raise just awareness about their feelings so that they're not like some dirty secret that they have these feelings
Yeah.
that comes out sideways. It's like, no, let's work with it consciously, right? And I think getting the people around them involved in a very like clean way, yeah, instead of it just spilling into conversations and things coming out. Because yeah, my first astrology teacher always said the crab moves sideways, so it can be hard sometimes for Cancer to just go ahead and be a little more direct about their needs. They might kind of dance around it or subtly hint, thinking the person will pick up the hint, but not everybody is on the same emotional subtlety as
Um,
Cancer.
uh, Totally, absolutely. And a point you had said before about the crab moving sideways around practice, would you just say that? Because I thought that was really useful too.
Yeah, yeah, I think, well, with associating the sign of Cancer with a regular practice so that they can feel good about themselves, right? And that's more owning things for them and taking charge, where their nature might be to almost motivate themselves through other people. Oh, but I'll do this because that's what that person needs, and having that kind of validate their worth, which is kind of going sideways
Yeah.
around what really is going to make them feel good about themselves. Yeah.
I love it because like that whole thing about practicing and slow and steady in a way, although I know it's different than Taurus, but slow and steady in the sense of like, they like I think about when I go hiking and I'm coming down, sometimes the best way to do it is sideways because I have stronger footing, I'm more aware, and I'm taking it more slowly that way. And that's kind of what I think about. So even in implementing these kind of tools into your life, again, they're not necessarily comfortable, especially if that means that you're asking for help, or you're saying you need boundaries around certain things, but it's all for the greater good. And so if you use it in the way of going, okay, it's slow and steady, I'm going to go sideways, I'm going to take my time, I'm going to let myself practice, and the more I just practice it one step at a time, I'll get better and better about it. And you'll do it at a pacing that not only feels good to you, but also feels good to those around you.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I think the ultimate goal that a lot of Cancer people think about is what makes me feel secure and the people around me, because if the
Yeah.
people around them feel secure, that can help them as well. So that's great. I like the hiking analogy too,
Yeah.
because yeah, sometimes sideways is what you need.
Awesome.
Yay. This is, yeah, I think this is really good stuff knowing we're coming into this Cancer season, and especially as we head for the full moon in Capricorn, realizing, oh, it's a Capricorn full moon, but underneath that is a lot of Cancerian emotional themes that may need to be looked at.
Yeah. Yeah. And how they can dance really beautifully together if we let them. Right.
Definitely, definitely. That's kind of what, astrology feels like to me, is finding that great balance in all these really different energies that are all so beautiful in their own way. And you don't want anyone to not be who they are. You're just trying to bring out everyone's best side.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it.
Well, thanks for your insights. We're
Yeah.
already looking forward to Leo season next month. It should be a fun one. And definitely leave us a comment if you have topics you want us to talk about. Our next episodes will be Leo, then we have Virgo and Libra. So, yeah, let us know and we'll be brainstorming.
Thanks so much, Stephanie.
Thanks. Bye.